Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Artist Talk on Art. I'm Barry Kostrinsky, president of the ATOA. This is our 39th Monday talk. This is our reaction to COVID-19. We've been around, this is our 47th year. We usually do things on the Lower West Side. We're a 501c3, but ever since March, we've had to go to this platform. Firstly, I want to thank all the artists for coming. You've made this quite a dynamic group. We have programming every Monday. Keep coming. If you have ideas for panels and presentations, just reach out to me. As well, if you'd ever like to present, do reach out. We have gotten a good amount of interest, and we are pretty much booked. You can see our website, atonyc.org, and see what talks we have coming. I do want to point out, next week is a special talk. We have a performance artist from Scotland who's originally from Barcelona, and he'll be presenting about the film State that he did that involved 100 different dancers. And he will be talking along with the composer who did the music for that film. Should be very interesting. And of course, we'll have lively conversation around it, and some of the dancers will be available. It's a little different tack for us. We're obviously visual art, but I am looking to expand it. I do want to thank Charlie Rubin. Last week's talk on photographers using photography, artists using photography in different ways was quite a brilliant discussion. You can see all of our talks. They're captured on YouTube. Artist Talk on Art is all you got to put into YouTube, and you'll be able to see our talks if you like. There's also a detailed description of the talks as well, for your pleasure. By the way, our talks are free. I want to thank everybody who's contributed. There is information on our website if you'd like to donate. We appreciate all donations. Many of you have been very generous, and we thank you for that. I do want to acknowledge some board members, Roberta Bernardi, our regular board member in attendance, and our artist for 2021 coming along. Jacqueline Rada is here, and of course, Fran Beeler. I'm sure other board members will be jumping on. We have a nice group of about 29 people. Tonight is a open format, but we did have 4 artists sign on to present. 3 of the 4 artists are photographers. So in a way, this is a nice follow-up to what we had last week. We'll do sort of a deep dive into photography through these 4 artists, through 3 of the 4 artists. The order for today will be Jay Critchley will present first, then we'll have Barbara Schaefer go, then Nick Lamarcker, and then Lionel Devin will present. So we have a group of 4 going. I just want to thank you all beforehand. Do mute yourself if you're going to be having side conversations. You know the way we go. Feel free to ask a question or make a statement at any time when the talk is going on. That's sort of how we like to roll here. And I think without further ado, Jay, we know we're expecting a little technical difficulties. We have that from time to time. If we do, just stand by. We have able people ready and willing to help. So Jay Critchley, I want to welcome you to ATOA. And first, just start by giving us a little introduction, telling us who you are, and then jump right in. And if you'd like to screen share, go ahead. So thanks, Jay, and welcome.
Okay, thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Jay, you do have an echo. Do you have us on 2 sources? Are you on a phone and on a computer? If so, mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to have to mute one of them because it sets up a feedback loop.
All right. How about if I get rid of the phone?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I was having problem hearing on the computer, so when we do questions, I can put it back on the phone.
Okay, is your phone this?
So you can hear me now?
Yep, no reverberation. Thank you for fixing that, Jay.
Oh, you can, okay.
Just everyone keep in
Because
mind.
I can't hear myself.
We can
Anyway,
hear you. There is a chat
I'm Jay
function.
Critchley. I'm from Provincetown, Massachusetts. I've lived here for many, many years. And I've been following this artist forum for many years as well. I did actually appear at one probably 20 years ago in the flesh when we were doing that. And I've been on off and on in the last few months. And I was listening about a month ago, Elisa Pritzker was talking about her work with indigenous people in Patagonia. And it got me thinking about performance and what the performative way that we work as artists. And particularly last week, in the last couple of weeks, you know, we have photographers on, but the photographers are not just taking pictures, obviously. I mean, they're performing, they're creating, they're working their bodies, they're moving through space. It's really performative, and it kind of underlined to me, it underlined the dynamic of what it means to be an artist, is that we are all performer, whether it's something public or not. So I'd like to share, let me say that I'm a multimedia artist, performance artist, conceptual artist. You know, when people ask me what kind of artist you are, I say everything but painting. But then lately I've been doing painting. So that's what COVID does to you, I guess. It takes you into other places. So, I'd like to start with sharing something that I've been working, that I did recently through COVID. And I wanted to focus a little bit more on what happened with me in the last year rather than all the projects I've done. I will show a couple projects, but if I could share my screen, I think we have it. So let's see. Oh, present. So you all can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Last March, when COVID hit, I was in the process of creating this huge public art project. The Veterans of Foreign Wars Hall was being demolished, and I was bringing in all these artists, and we were going to do installations and photography and video, and then COVID hit, and the whole thing got canceled. So in the meantime, so it was called Democracy of the Land: Reflections on Nature and Civic Society. And but in the meantime, I had purchased these 36 solar lights, and, you know, solar powered lights. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do with these? I mean, you know, I was going to have people go into the space would be completely dark, and they would move their lights around and discover what was in there. And, you know, here's like the light, here's the little solar light that people were going to carry in. So I had these 36 solar lights, and I was trying to figure out what to do with them. And so I decided, well, the town is quiet, and, you know, we're all isolated in our homes. So I decided to go out with these 36 solar lights and go through the town and honor the spaces in the town. So here I am. I'm just going to show you a couple of, this video's working for everyone. Yep. Okay. So I took my pack of 36 solar lights and went through the town, and I stopped at many places along the way, which I'll show you. But it really kind of it gave me a sense of expansiveness that I wasn't feeling being at home, as you probably all can relate. And so I thought, well, why don't I take these lights out and honor spaces in town, organizations, buildings, kind of community spaces that we all share. So let me just move it down a little bit here. So here's a, wait a minute. So anyway, we're a fishing port and a tourist town. So I was down on the pier, and then I went into the pilings at low tide with these.
Could
And
you explain what a solar light
so
is?
this is just
it's
raw
lighted by
footage.
the
This
sun.
is not any anything, a documentary per se. So let me
Jay, can
see.
you hear us?
So let me go back to
I don't think he can hear us.
this.
You can't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he probably could only hear us through the phone.
So here's some of the spaces that that I wanted to show. Let me present. Okay. So this is the out on the docks. This is like a portrait, and then this is the out at Herring Cove Beach, where this is that red light is a light for people in distress. It's like a call. Okay. You can hear me now? Yeah, okay. So I took the lights, well, I guess you didn't hear me talking while the video
Oh,
was playing.
we did, Jay. We heard everything.
Anyway, I took the lights around town and I was celebrating and honoring places in town. It kind of made me feel like expansive, not being stuck at home, going around town and honoring the places where we all gathered as community. So this is out at Herring Cove Beach, and this red light is a call box to a call of distress, like if you're having trouble or whatever. This is the high school, and you can see most of this. Some of this is at dusk, and some of it is later, which is of course completely closed. This is the a youth program on the water that teaches kids how to sail and how to navigate the water and swim, the West End Racing Club. And this is the Provincetown courtesy float that I visited with the 36 solar lights. I'm not sure that you heard, but the lights were part of the installation I was doing at the Veterans of Foreign Wars hall that was being demolished, and people were bringing lights in. The hall was all darkened. I invited artists and poets and dancers and visual artists to come in and create installations, but the event was canceled. So I had these 36 lights that I had to deal with. So this is what I came up with. So I'd like to take you back just a little bit to the early days of being an artist, when I didn't even know I was an artist. I just had this car that I felt like encrusting with sand, and put it in Macmillan Wharf parking lot on the water in Provincetown, and called it Just Visiting for the Weekend, because it was really about people coming to Provincetown, and then they come for a weekend and they decide, I have to stay here. I'm not going anywhere. They fall in love with the place. So this is kind of the beginning of my work that has to do with the environment, with fossil fuels, with transients, with sand, using sand as a medium, since Provincetown is a sand dune all itself. And also getting to the performative elements. I really began to realize that this was a performance sculpture, because people, it was right as you went into the parking lot. And so this is the second year where I had the Ron and Nancy Reagan were inside this automobile the second summer in the early 80s. And then cars, as I said, cars and the environment are an important part of my work, looking at the effects of fossil fuels. And this was when the first public awareness of viruses, pretty much, at least in the last, since World War II, the SARS virus in 2003, and all these magazine covers had the same image with SARS, and I changed it to cars. So it's really, I'm saying that cars are the new epidemic. We need to look at the cars and this is not the real issue. It's really about climate change and the environment. And this is a piece I did at Freight and Volume Gallery in New York City about 7 or 8 years ago. Deep Bones, again, it's a mummified 1979 MG sports car that's mummified with recycled plastic shopping bags. And I actually created it in the gallery. The first section, the first part of the exhibition was the car. When I took the car apart in the gallery, wrapped each piece up like with a mummy, like you wrap up parts of your organs, and put them back into the car. And then I, mummified the car with the wrappings of recycled plastic shopping bags. And this is another project, Miss Tampon Liberty. I collected used plastic tampon applicators from washed up on beaches, which actually in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s were the most prevalent thing on beaches, because in Boston, the sewage system would dump them. When it rained, they'd be dumped into the harbor. They were flushed down and they would show up on beaches. So I started collecting them. And I didn't even know what they were. Even though I have 6 sisters, I was raised an Irish Catholic. I never heard about tampons. It was a hidden, So I started making sculpture with them. And this is Miss Tampon Liberty with 3,000 applicators. And I was protesting the Boston sewage outfall pipe, which was dumping millions of gallons of effluent in the middle of Cape Cod Bay. We're talking. In 2000 it opened. So this was the moment it opened. And I also went to the State House and proposed legislation to ban the sale and manufacture of plastic medical devices. It particularly was called feminine hygiene, plastic non-biodegradable feminine hygiene products. And of course the police were like, you need to get out of here. You're raising hell. I'm like, what am I doing? And then when he looked what I was wearing, he was like, he was speechless. So, and then Old Glory Condoms. This was another major project, Condoms with a Conscience, worn with pride countrywide. And this was an actual corporation. I do set up a lot of corporations, but this was an actual, where I had product, the condom on the flag, and I applied for trademark, and that created a big hassle with the government, because they thought it was immoral and scandalous to associate the flag with sex. And so I eventually had a lawyer from the Center for Constitutional Rights who I eventually won my trademark. So that was great. And so it was about HIV, AIDS, and forcing the government to talk about it, which we're talking the late 80s, early 90s. And this is a poster. I was recruiting people. It was like a promotional poster about safer sex. And then recently, so we're bringing us back to 2020. This is the Whiteness House, Tarred and Feathered. And it was a project that I created at the San Francisco Art Institute in 2017, just after our president was elected. And I could see right away, it was obvious to me back then that his whole platform was about racism and race and bigotry. So I created this walk-in model of the I call it the Whiteness House. It's about, it asks the question, what is a White House like after a Black president? And so the idea of tarring and feathering is about humiliation and, running people out of town. It was used in ancient Europe as well as in the West, in the United States. And so it was asking the question, who is tar and feathering whom? Who's responsible for this? Are we complicit with what's going on or not? And I think we know what's happening now, 4 years later. But I had a chance to reinstall the piece right on Commercial Street, the main street in Provincetown, before the election. This is a nighttime shot, and I use colored lights each night. It was a 10-day project that involved a lot of artists, writers, and poets and dancers who came and performed at the space. And this is a group of high school kids that are in an arts program in town that came to, it gives you a sense of the scale. And inside, people would bring things to bring in, and I had a shredder inside, so you could shred the things you wanted to shred. And this was in October of last year. And rerouters, I just did rerouters ceremony. This is the 38th annual International Rerouter Society, the IRS, another corporation. This is an annual ritual that I do every year on January 7th. It's after the 12 days of stockpiling, and which is the 12 days of Christmas, and the last day of Christmas is the 6th, which is the Epiphany. And so I always hold it on the 7th. So it's like a way to purge the previous year, to reroute ourselves to the earth, and to sort of, begin the new year. I'd like to just share this video because this was done by, can you hear it? Yeah, okay. All right. I'll let you watch it.
Actually, there is no audio. We'll just hear it silently.
So this year's theme was viral warming, and there's always a theme every year. And there's the 10 commandments that I have of this year, the 10 commandments of capital Sea Ice Revenge, and people would chant viral warming spelled backwards, which is Mariv Ganamra. Again, these are just a few images. And then just to close now, also last year, I decided to do a project about the viruses also called viral warming. And I found these recycled, I've been collecting these recycled vinyl street banners. These images are 3 feet high and 8 feet wide, and they would be across the street to promote performances and things. And so I created a whole series about viruses, and this is the one about COVID. I think you can see, so you can see it's spray painted images on the background, and then the letters themselves are made from images of people with masks from the newspapers. So this is kind of what kept me, should I say, occupied and sane between the solar lights, 36 solar lights, and the doing these banners. So I think right there, I'll say thank you and open for thoughts and questions. I need to get my sound back.
There we go. I stopped the screen sharing, Jay, and go ahead,
Did you
try and
unmute
get your
me?
sound back.
Oh, I'm gonna have to call in.
Thank you, everybody, for being patient.
I need to call in.
Go ahead, call in, and we'll We'll let you on. I do want to say I liked how you said photography
There
is
was a number
like
for me to call in.
performing.
I'll switch to
That is an
phone.
interesting thought. And certainly when you're doing your performance are captured with photography. You know, there definitely is a crossover. You are both political and you're talking about the environment. When you do get your audio back, I do want to ask why you form corporations. And everybody, feel free to jump into the chat if you like to ask any questions, or of course, once he does dial in, anybody can ask him a question live. I'm sure he'll be in shortly.
I don't think he can hear you though.
I know he can't. This is
That was wonderful presentation though.
it was.
Thing work. Is that what you were expecting, Barry? Have you seen Jay's work before?
You know, I gave it the 1 minute review before I invited him to speak, the normal 60 seconds, the full range.
Right.
I like to say I can sort of judge very quickly. And I just saw that one image of the car that Jay had, and I knew by that it would be an interesting presentation. And
The mummified car or the sand car?
actually, I like the sand car, but no, I saw the sort of flying car with him dressed up in that outfit. So yeah, no, it often is a surprise to me. Jay, can you hear us now? Have you signed in? I did just let someone in.
No.
He's being a disgruntled artist. He won't speak.
Anyway, I'm having trouble with this, so I'm going to have to move on, I guess.
All right. Well,
I'll catch up with you later.
all right.
the
Sounds
audio.
good, Jay. What we'll do is we'll move ahead to to our next presenter. Thank you. And we'll just pick up the conversation about your work later on when you can hear us. We're going to move to Barbara Schaefer. Barbara, thank you for joining us. Just a little introduction about yourself and where you are coming in for, and then jump right in. So welcome, Barbara. Welcome to the ATOA.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm an interdisciplinary artist. I've worked with many different forms over the years, including dance and starting with printmaking as an undergraduate and interdisciplinary arts as a graduate student, and dance and performance and painting but what I'm going to begin with is the most cohesive body of work that I feel is the culmination of all these different disciplines. And it's a process called painting with light, which comes out of my experience of being a painter in a way. And I feel these are like not dance, but improvisations in which I choose a location, and if I'm working with a model, I let them determine how they're going to move. So I work without lights in the dark at night. And this work began, okay, so how do I, let's see. So I'm going to, so how do I have this, wait. How do I share this now? Wait a second. So I go to share screen.
Yeah, we actually practiced this.
We did, I know, but now I've lost it. Okay, so let me go back here and share screen and desktop basic. I'm ready to share desktop. Okay, let's do my desktop. Okay, so you can see my desktop. So here we go. So this is this is a presentation I did for part of my, wait, hold on a second. This work began in the Jewish ghetto of Rome. And when I was asked to participate in an exhibition for the Day of Memory for the Shoah or the Holocaust, and one important point, I lived in Rome for many years and I go back often. And so a friend of mine, an artist, invited me to participate in an exhibition for the Shoah. And my sense was that my inspiration would come from the streets themselves of the Jewish ghetto. I was staying right next to the ghetto, so I would walk the streets in preparation for this. And the premise behind this is, I know it's going to sound a little esoteric, but the Jews were removed, they were forced from their homes, and my sense is that the spirit returns somehow, either metaphorically or really, or whatever you want, but it returns to make sense of its experiences. Or if someone has just died, they try to re-inhabit their body if they didn't leave in peace. I had this experience directly with my father after he died. Anyway, these are from the Jewish ghetto. Let's let them continue here. So, as I said, they're like theater improvisations. What happens is by chance, and I don't stage them. Whoever I'm working with brings whatever they have, whatever they're going through in the work. These shots are from my loft, in the loft that you're looking at now, where I live in Greenpoint. And they're a continuation of the Absence Present series. And these right here, I'm going to stop it for a second, are what I call the tarantata, which is from the tarantella, the dance of the spider, where the person is possessed. I did a lot of research on the tarantella. So afterward, actually, I didn't plan it that way, but these images reminded me of it after I took them. So this series is called The Dancer Returns Home. It's from Monti, which is the first neighborhood of Rome, where I lived for my first 7 years in Rome. And this was my sense of returning.
Barbara, feel free to go a little slower on the images. Some people have commented. They are beautiful images.
Okay, sorry. If you want me to stop, just say it. Keep it,
No, just a little bit longer on each image. Keep going. You're doing great.
All right. So this is, again, The Dancer Returns Home to Monti. This is where I lived, in the neighborhood I lived and loved. And it's like, for me, it was like returning home. I actually had an exhibition called The Dancer Returns Home and Other Stories, which I did it in Rome. So, yeah, keep going. So this again is in Rome. These are, this is in a different part, not in the Centro Storico. This instead is in my space in Brooklyn. And this idea of absence and presence it took on different forms. And for me, absence sometimes holds more space, or it has more presence than presence itself. And for example, in my relationship, one of my biggest relationships, love relationships, the man walked out of my life without a word. So his absence inhabited my life for so many damn years. You can't believe it, which I didn't realize until after the fact that, this was also part of it. But these images are, there's no model except for me. This is my space. And um, there was a series on about 2010 called In Treatment. It was an HBO series about a therapist and his patients. And I binged watched it. And afterward, I photographed the television, put them in paintings, installed them in my space. And these photographs, this In Treatment series, is a result of that. These are not constructed in Photoshop. These are one shot, and they happen by me moving around the space. So movement is a big part of my work. This is me, self-portrait there. But again, it's a part of the In Treatment series.
Barbara, let me ask you a question. How are you getting this,
yeah.
how are you getting the layering of images? Are you is
Moving.
it what's that? How?
Moving.
Okay.
Moving, it's on long exposure. The camera's on long exposure, and I move within the space. So when I work with a model, I flash that person as they move.
I want to ask a question also, Barbara. This is
Yeah.
Daryl M. Like this particular image, and maybe this is what Barry was alluding to. On this image, like I feel like I'm seeing, two different images. I'm seeing the chair, and then I'm seeing this floor piece in the back. Now, is that all one scene that we're looking at?
It's one shot. It's, as I said, I move around my space, and the light captures what it will. So this chair is what you see I'm sitting on at the moment. These four is, remember I said I photographed the actors from the television. I didn't have a big printer at the time, so I printed them out in squares. I put them up on a canvas and install them in my space. So what happens is really subject to, it's improvisation.
Right, but I mean, the physical things that I'm seeing, just trying to digest what I'm seeing, the physical things I'm seeing, they are all in one space, one shot, and so forth. The chair, well, because from the photo, the chair sort of merges into what's behind it. So it almost looks like there's this layering going on. So that's why I was wondering. Okay.
Well, actually, the image is not behind it. The image is in another part of the room. But so what happens is by surprise. As I said, I move around the room, allowing whatever is there to be caught by the light. I don't know if I'm clear, but.
I think I understand. It's one shot, but this might be two different parts of the room, for example, or whatever.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you are shooting in a dark room with what kind of camera?
Canon.
A film camera?
No. Not a film camera. It's a digital camera.
So you're standing in a spot, and when the camera absorbs enough light in that spot, you maybe move to another spot, and then it absorbs enough light in that area, and so forth. I mean,
Well, I don't know when it absorbs.
No. I understand. Light. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I'm not saying you're timing it or whatever, but I'm just saying that what we're seeing is the result of maybe you're resting in one place over another place and that sort of thing in an area, right?
I would imagine, Barbara, both the challenge and the excitement of this, the way that you do it, is you don't know exactly what you're going to get until you.
Exactly.
So that's.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's another something important for me is that when I work with someone, I want to know about their psychological state or something about them. And so this young woman here, it was the daughter of a friend of mine, and she was just recovering from a nervous breakdown. So she was better, but you can see that in her movement is almost nil. I mean, she's very hesitant to move. And the feeling about this is that, I called this series with her the next step because she's hovering, and it's like in life, when we want to take the next step, we're not always sure how to do it. So there's this question of, we want to move forward, we sense what's ahead, but we're uncertain about where to place our feet.
Barbara, this
Anyways,
is
here's
Larry. You started talking earlier about your being invited to be part of the photography or do something photography-wise in Rome for the Shoah. I'm trying to see the transition of what you did there. You seem to have gone past it very quickly. Is
you want
that,
me to go back?
well, I don't want to interrupt your position, but I mean, your presentation, but are these outgrowths of that initial concept?
Yes, but they're not part of that exhibition for the Shoah. But this was a way of working called painting with light. And what I'm interested in is like like in theater, like what's not being said, like the conversation below the words. I'm interested in what can't be seen with the normal eye. And I'm interested in enchantment. There's a sense of enchantment in these photos, I find.
They're very ethereal.
Yes, they're ethereal. And I'm interested in the transcendence of, being transported with imagery. Anyway, so this is another of the next step image. This is more of the historic center in Rome. This is when I'm starting to use photo composites. These are actually two photos mixed together. If you want me to go slower, shout out. Because there's a lot of work here, so.
Can you say which ones are composites and which ones are straight?
Mm-hmm. These are straight. This is straight. This is straight. This is straight. One shot, which this is about, these two are about continuum movement, which is a practice that I have done for many years. It recognizes the fluid system in the universe, and that's connecting everything. Anyway, it's a very interesting form of movement. This instead is in Greenpoint, where I live. It's one of the buildings. I think they tore it down or covered it up. And I just love the building so much. I'm so glad I got a chance to capture it before they tore it down. This was in 2016. This is a composite. These are two photos. Okay, that's one set. Now do I have time still?
Yes, fascinating presentation. You definitely have achieved what you're looking to do. You're definitely revealing what's beneath the eye, and whether you're layering images or leaving the lens open, we can see your search for the otherworldly, and I think you seem to capture it.
Thank you. Yeah, as I said, I feel that work was a culmination of all the other, of painting, of printmaking, of dance, of movement, of music, of writing, which is, so in 2017, I broke my foot. I fractured my foot when I was in Rome. And when I came back, I started working. I did a whole fracture series. I'm not going to show you that because there's just too much to show all at once, but I will show you these series. These were also composite series. and they're called Women and Men on Trains. And they're kind of backbone of, I did an exhibition in 2019 at the Macro Museum in Rome, and it was called Love Letter to Roma. And with the premise of where is home, which is, where does where do you feel the best in the world? Where does the inner world and the outer world come into alignment? And some of these images are on a video I did of that. Let's see, slideshow. Slideshow, play from start. Okay. So this is I'm going to go a little fast because I don't want to take up too much time for the next.
Well, say something about these images. They're very strange.
So they're composites. They're composites from photographs, and again, it's about movement on a train, and about.
Is this a reflection composite of the window of the train car?
Yes. These are photographs I took from the train and also combined with, this lovely woman. You'll see other people here as well. And as I said, they're part of, they're the background for a video I've done about Love Letter to Roma, between myth and reality. I mean, some of the photos were actually with my iPhone as well, and some were with the better camera. This is a tribute to Aaron Osborne. He was my dance teacher in San Francisco and a god of dance.
I do want to say Roberta Bernardi has said, Barbara, I love your work. Gloria Sampson Knight, some very clever photos. I enjoyed learning about your method. She's sorry she has to leave.
Thank you.
Keep in mind, if anybody would like to be added to our email list, feel free to either add it in the chat if you're not on our email list, or to email me directly. You'll find information at atonyc.org.
So I just want to say something about this. I mean, this is our world today. Dilemma, with the phones in our ears, and anyway. And
hey, Barry, sorry I'm late.
It looks like these shots were made perpendicular to the window. So how did you stay out of the shot?
These are combined photos. So this is me as a young girl. I mean, yeah.
Oh.
This is also a self-portrait. See, these are combinations. So these are number of photos together.
I see, okay.
Another self-portrait. There's another woman there. You can hardly see her.
Rhonda said, beautiful, Barbara. Robin Halpern said, your photography is very interesting and creative. You've got a great eye. As well,
Thank you.
Leah Paula Brava, the spectral rendered tactile. Definitely so. You seem to be reaching into something deeper and revealing it. As well, everyone, feel free to share your website or any information with everybody else on the chat. You're all welcome to.
Okay,
obviously.
I will. Now I don't know, I don't want to take up, I think I took up a lot of time. I have other works, another early works, but maybe this is enough because I don't want to overwhelm, and we have 2 more speakers, right? Or
Sounds good, and you can always present the other body another time. Definitely.
okay, I have put together early drawings and paintings, but you know what? I think I'm good. Stop your sharing. Stop sharing. Does anyone have any questions?
How long have you been doing the light drawings?
Since 2007, the end of 2007. Yeah.
So Barbara, I had asked a question about the Shoah. I didn't understand where you departed from the Shoah imagery to the other imagery of the people that seem to be ghosted throughout Rome. Was that
No, it was just a continuation of the same process.
so? There wasn't a
They
specific-
didn't go into they weren't part of the exhibition. Just the first number of images you saw were part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Barbara, I have a question about your evolution from traditional painting and drawing or technical techniques by hand to using your camera more. How did you work towards photography more? What was
Oh, I have a great story. I forgot it. I have a great story. So I was not interested in photography at all. When I moved from, when I was in Rome, I was just painting. I moved to New York in 1996, and I was just painting. I wasn't interested in technology at all, and nothing to do with, camera. Anyways, in 2002, I had a website, and there was a photograph of me as well as my work up there. And I got an email one day, and the address was il tuo principe at arte.it, your prince at Art Italy. So I read the email and said, your work is as beautiful as you are. I'd like to get to know you, but I don't have the courage. And I was going to delete it. And I said, what, are you crazy? This is a piece of art in itself. So began a 5-month dialogue with my prince. And he wouldn't reveal his name. I knew he was an artist. I knew he was at least 20 years younger than me, and that he lived in Puglia, but he wouldn't reveal his face or his name. But we shared a lot of things, was very intimate. He told me his secrets, I told him mine, and he would send me images back and forth. Like he would capture images from my website, intervene in them, and send them back to me. And it was back and forth, and poetry and music and writing and everything. And then when I discovered who he was, he ended it, which was fine. I mean, I knew it was more of an art, a world of art for me. And when he ended it, I said, what, are you kidding? You've got so much information here. You're not going to reject technology anymore. So I started to print out photographs and insert them into my paintings. And you can see that on the New York Artist Circle website. If you go under, so I had an exhibition in 2006, 3 years later, called Invisible Realms: Dialogue with the Virtual Prince. And that comes out of that dialogue. So photography grew out of that because I became interested in that. And
Fabulous.
that's how.
Why did you ever leave Italy and Rome?
I know, wasn't that stupid? I know. I've always had my foot out the door, no matter where I've been, in a way. So, but I haven't left Italy, even though I'm not there, I haven't left it. In fact, I'm like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, that ever since I left, it's like I want to go back home, you know. But I go a lot, and that's my place of inspiration. That's my love.
Barbara, do you have one image you could put up of your photography and your painting combo that you just mentioned?
Of the,
I think we may have to hold off on that because we do have two other speakers.
yeah, I have two other presenters.
Let
I'm
me,
going to put my.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, put the website up, and then Larry, you can look at it online.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll put it up. I'll put my own my first website, and then the one with the artist circles where you can see that work, because on my website is mostly photography. But
Barbara, I do want to ask you one question. I like
Yes.
your search. I like what you're trying to do. I do want to ask, what personal is in your search for revealing the spirit? Have there been any personal experiences in your life? What is it?
Yes.
And if you could just jump into that and explain.
Well, it isn't that I'm interested in revealing the spirit, or the spirit as a ghost, but I'm interested in what can't be seen with the normal eye, and with normal vision. But when my father died in 1979, I went to his house, or the house that I grew up in. It was in Buffalo, and I was living in San Francisco at the time. And my mother told me that he screamed into death. I'm sorry if this is too much information for everybody, but he screamed into death, meaning he had a hard time letting go. When I went to that house, I was in my room. I felt his presence walk into my room. I felt his presence as though he was confused. So that, it could have been my imagination, but that's what I felt. And so that's why I say the spirit returns. And of course, that's not necessarily my original idea of it, but they talk about in Buddhism how they try to send the spirit on with a certain ritual. But I didn't necessarily begin this work thinking that way, because I don't think ahead of time about what I'm doing. I kind of, my intuition leads me there, and whatever happens develops. And that's been even with painting, has been like that. If I go into something with too much idea, it doesn't work for me. I mean, obviously I have some kind of idea, but if I am too fixed about what I want to do, it doesn't happen. For me, it's complete improvisation, and that's been my strength in everything I do, and learning to trust it, which is in every aspect of your life, which haven't always been good at in every aspect, but in art, yes.
Very well said, Barbara. Very nice. Thanks for that personal story. I think that sort of brings it all together in a way. Thank you. Beautifully done. Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll post your website.
I will. I'm going to put it in the chat now. Thank you so much for being a great audience. I was nervous. I wrote like 4 pages and I didn't even look at my notes. So
You did great. You did great.
Add something, Barry?
Oh, yes, sure. Go ahead, Leah, of course.
Yeah. I spent 20 years in Europe, and I think that there's something about these civilizations that are very old and the cities that they've created that have endured for centuries and centuries. There are cities that are not reflective, like New York. New York is glass and steel. Europe is stone. And Barbara, really, it was wonderful, Barbara. But I would like to share one thing that happened to me in Paris. I left my apartment. I went downstairs on a somewhat sunny day to the bus stop, and I see this 4-inch square mosaic on the glass of the bus stop. And it's glistening, it's pearlescent, it's absolutely exquisite. I want to capture it. This was way before we had our cell phones. I looked at it and I said, oh my God, that is so gorgeous. What is that? And I realized that it was somebody had thrown an egg against the bus stop wall, and the yellow of the egg had dried and crackled, and it had this luminescent quality to it. And all I could say to myself was, only in Europe. If I saw that same egg on a wall in New York, I think I'd say yuck, right? But there's something about the way the aesthetics of Europe can play with the artistic sentiment and sensibility that absolutely becomes, it's like a love affair. I know why you fell in love with Rome.
Lee, can I just say something here?
Sure.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Europe too. I'll tell you what's so special about Europe. The light. It's stunning. Absolutely stunning. Everything is kind of transformed.
It's a different, and I honestly believe that the people you captured are there, because I know people all over Italy who talk about the ghosts in all those houses. They see the ghosts in those houses. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of your superimpositions were actually reflecting a reality that we don't capture with the eye, but we capture with the, you know, with the shivers on our spine.
Except they weren't superimpositions.
Yeah, that's it. They were
yeah,
there.
they weren't. They were just movement. I mean, and you know, and light.
Well,
And
thank you. Thank you very much. We are going to move to Lionel Delvin. Did I pronounce your name right, Lionel? I'm going to ask you to unmute. Let's see. Just bear with us 1 minute. We'll get Lionel up. Lionel, can you unmute yourself? Let's see.
Black Lives Matter. Silent on 5 people on both sides.
Somebody has some music on it, some news in the background. You know what, Lionel, I'll wait. I'll come back to you until you can unmute, and we'll move to Nicholas Lamarca. Nicholas, ready to go? Feel free to jump in. Yep, Nicholas is ready. And Lionel, work on unmuting yourself for your presentation after Nicholas. Nicholas, welcome. Just a brief introduction. Where are you from? Where are you sitting now? And jump right in.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm originally from the Bronx, New York, born and raised. Currently, I'm actually in San Francisco, so I have a bit better weather. So that's been good. I'm a photographer. A lot of my work is documentary, but it started off kind of in what I started to learn first was commercial work. When I met Barry about 3 to 4 years ago, I was just getting into photography. And I really only had like an Instagram that was showing landscapes because I didn't know what else to do with my photography. So things have changed since then. As I said, it starts off in the studio kind of stuff work, but then it moves on into more photo documentary and kind of capturing communities, mostly I guess about communities and where some communities that aren't seen and definitely some that are being taken kind of advantage of and things like that. And I'll speak more about each particular project that I show as I show them. So I'll share the screen now. Where is it? Okay, so I guess I'll start off in the beginning just so you kind of see where like my studio stuff was taking. It was I do have some like I guess we'll just jump in and go from there. I was doing some, I guess, still life work, and I was trying to play with light, and then I move into bodies when I do this after that. So let's go from there. So I was playing with water and like plastics and light, and just kind of seeing where it would take the images that I was going for, and I was going for macro photography in this particular sense. And then went from here to like glass and things of that nature, and kind of classic, student stuff that you pull off in studio. And then from there went into some portraiture. This goes from all of like my career in photography, but it's more of a commercial look on these particular portraits.
Nick, can you go full screen on these so we can actually see them? Because we're just
Oh
seeing.
yeah, yeah.
little...
I'm going on now. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it full screen now for everybody?
No.
Well,
No?
we're seeing like it's
Oh,
almost
sorry.
like a contact sheet approach. So you have to double click on it to make it the primary image so we can see
For
it.
some reason, when I hit preview, it's full screen for me, but it's not full screen for you guys. All right, then I will go back and I'll show that for you guys. Let me see what I can do.
Or maybe if you just double click on the one image, it'll just become large.
No. I mean, that's okay. Is that good enough?
Better, but
Nicholas, what you actually need to do is to go out of screen share, open it up, and then go back into screen share in exactly the program that it opened up in.
Right. Well, I will get this. Don't you worry. I have it all in the file. So then, if anything, I will do. If anything, I will have it just on preview, and we'll make work from there, I guess.
Yeah, that would work.
Where are you? Here we go. Share everything. Where is it? Desktop. Does everybody see the whole desktop?
Yep.
Okay, good. If I hit preview now.
Looks good.
Okay.
Well, not now.
Anybody? Everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So this was the start in the color still life that I was doing, and was working with water and plastics, and then glass and plastics. And it was working with color, kind of with how I work in the studio. So was like the beginning, like still life in my scholastic, endeavor. Let's go back here. There we go. And then from there, went into portraiture, as I was saying. Okay. And so as you see, it has like commercial feel and like fashion photography style. The soccer stuff that you'll see stemmed from one of my photo documentary projects. And I kind of wanted to have people like showing off for themselves, like their team and side of like the studio as well. And then this was a when I was getting into large format, I was taking pictures of people in the Bronx. He was actually a geological surveyor in the botanical gardens in the middle of the Bronx River. Like literally just got out of the river with his equipment, and he allowed me to take a photo of him. And I kind of wanted to do like a mimic the master kind of thing with the Irving pen. So this was to kind of be an ode to the Miles Davis photo. And a lot of these people are like friends of mine from my program and other photographers mostly that were in the portraiture that I took that weren't just on the street. All right, so that's the portraiture. So the last, not the last one, but the other one is kind of me playing with light on bodies. It's not a lot of work, but you'll kind of see what I was going for. The reason I was doing the light was I kind of wanted to show the light in the dark that is in everyone, but I also wanted to make it a little more colorful and more inviting, and just having like a kind of mysterious note to the photography. So that's why I had it going through. All right, and the last, now I'm going to I did some documentary work on, not the last one, sorry about that. Some documentary work on, let me see what the chat says. Okay. All right. I did some work on drag queens in New York City, and it was right around when Trump won in 2016. So you'll see one is literally one person that you'll see in there was literally the day after Trump had won. And it was kind of a rough day. He originally was trying to change his mind about wanting to meet for doing the shoot. But the work was about, kind of how the labor intensive they have to go through, like the labor intensive work that they have to go through in order to just do a night of performing. And some are, safe with their, makeup, and the others are maybe not so much. Like you'll see someone with duct tape on their head, and how that's not exactly the way you should be doing things. But when you're on a budget and you're trying to perform as best you can, you do what you have to. And yeah, so let's go from there. It's not in any particular order. I apologize about that. It was just sorting very confusingly. And this is the one that was actually for that I met the day after Trump's election.
Woo-hoo.
and you see with the flags around the back, that is the day of the election. That's her performing. She's in character. She sings, so it was a really good time. Yeah. As you see, the duct tape on the person's head. Yeah, this is. And I did another project on kind of soccer hooligans. And this is just like a deep dive into like that community of people and like how crazy and stuff they can get and the things you'll see at almost every single game that goes on. So it went from like tailgating, there's marches, there's in-game, yeah. And a lot of these people, they're there every week during these seasons, and it's a pretty long season. It rivals like the length of baseball and basketball. Goes from like the end of February, and if you make it to the championship game, to like the first week of December. So even though it don't play as many games, it does take a lot out of you as both a fan and a player, because it's a lot of commitment to make it to all those games.
It's funny, through all the photos, you can definitely sense, just like with a painter, your sense of color comes through.
Yeah, I wanted, especially for the soccer hooligans and for the shadow presentation, I really love to explore the use of color, and with the soccer, everything's vibrant and very, very bright. So I wanted to make sure that was captured throughout most of it. There is one black and white image, which is actually what got me started doing the project in the first place. And you'll see it come up soon. And here it is. Basically, after a very big win against a cross-city rival, this is the celebration at an away game of the away team's fans. This is the only place they could be in the entire stadium, and they got to celebrate. And they went absolutely nuts because they destroyed New York City FC 7-0. So they all were. This is a giant screaming circle that was like 10 minutes long at least. This is in game in the supporter club. So the hooligans, I was following particular supporter clubs around the city. So the New York City FC one was called the Third Rail. So obviously we harken back to the subway train power. So and then this is the Viking Army, which is for one of the supporter clubs for the New York Red Bulls. And you'll see a Viking in here somewhere. This is after a goal. You can see the absolute madness that ensues, the spraying of beer, the screaming of fans, the absolute pandemonium that goes on just from a combination of alcohol and pride.
I sort of like, though, how the ShopRite advertisement is sort of caught right in the middle of it all.
Yeah. It speaks to how everything is basically just makes money for something else.
Yes.
This is a fan catching a nut. I want to say from another fan across the way, and I caught him right when he was in the middle of doing it. Yeah, and they're definitely like kings of the weekend because this is their time to shine and party, and they take it all the way, all year round. Full barbecues at the tailgates. It was Memorial Day weekend, and they had military members in the stands that would get, if they were in town, they could get tickets for free through our group, the Viking Army group, and they were right in front of me, so they got excited about the goal. This is after a goal. And some visiting fans, but this is from New England. And this is some of the stuff from the parades. They use flares and smoke bombs, and they stop traffic during these parades. And no one can get across this one bridge that goes from like the arena area to the next. And this is kind of like the call and response in one of the groups going on after the bridge portion. The bridge always has the smoke bombs. And there's one of the Vikings, the Viking mascot. This is also part of that parade. It looks, there are more than one group, and some are more hooliganish than others. Some are some fans, and some are like more of the football fans that you would see in like Eastern Europe that are just take everything to the like umpteenth extreme. So yeah. And this is another, just more different types of teams that were going on.
Thanks, Nicholas. I'm going to have to cut you a little short just because we ran a little long, and I do want to have time for Lionel to present.
I understand.
I think certainly a great range. I mean, from cross-dressing performers to soccer players, sort of blurs the line. Is there really a difference?
Yeah. The last set of group images that we went to was gentrification of the Bronx. So it was a documentary project on that, and it was not in color. Had a lot of large format photography and portraiture, but
feel free to share with us another time, another body of work. It would be very enjoyable.
Sure.
I'm going to stop the screen sharing just so we can move forward. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice work. We had some very nice comments from many people in the group thanking all the presenters so far for doing such a nice job in sharing. This has been sort of a deep dive into photography. We'll move on to our last presenter, Lionel. I think we're ready to go. What do you think, Lionel? Yep.
Can you hear me, Barry?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Just tell us a little bit about where you're from and jump right in.
All right. I'm from Stockbridge, Massachusetts, the French part of town, that is. And I originally came from Paris, of course. I ended up in this country in 1971 to check on the state of Western civilization. It was a big thing of mine then, and see how big the trouble was and how far the solutions could be. So I ended up in the right place. It was May Day in Washington, D.C. And I was an aspiring writer then. I was going to be a teacher, but I dropped out of École Normale in France and decided to learn by myself, wrote for different publications, and soon decided that writing was no longer a universal language. Photography was better at that, so that started a long career. I was back in Europe for until 1975, where I decided to come back here because the emergence of the environmental movement, or the re-emergence of the environmental movement, was something that I wanted to be part of. And that's what made me stay, really, ever since I've been documenting environmental struggles in the United States and abroad. It brought me from Seabrook, New Hampshire, from Montague, where it started, where a few people started organizing against nuclear power, and I was privileged to follow them. The term was invaded into this group of people fighting for democracy already back then. Democracy, the power to exert a choice on what energy sources could be, and what we're witnessing today is a big mess altogether. So I documented that movement, and so went from Seabrook, New Hampshire to Chernobyl, Ukraine, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, Ukraine, and Fukushima. I'm not as a photojournalist, I've never been a conflict photographer. I look for the before and after, whatever I can try to explain and bring to the most people. So my art form is indeed using a camera where my mind and my eyes, can be of some help. And so I worked for the media for New York, because I understand we are mostly from New York in this group here. I worked for the Village Voice. Village Voice was really a pioneer in bringing great photography and great politics and coverage of the news back then, with Fred McDarrah as the photo editor. It was a formula which was seminal in the use of photojournalism, I feel. So I was quite privileged to be part of that, and then moved on to the pages of Mother Jones in these times, so Mother Jones, California, in this time in Chicago, and so forth. And so did a career out of what were movements that otherwise would not have been covered by the mass media. Of course, I ended up having to make a living with publications such as the New York Times, Time Magazine, Newsweek, and you name it. And that was good. That was at the time we had those magazines. So let me try to share what I've got here on screen, which, because I am not a man of words, I am a word of pictures, a man of pictures. So the sharing here would be in the bottom of the screen. I'm using two share screen. So are we saying, I see somewhere here. Are you seeing my screen?
No.
It replaced some of the pictures that I see as the gallery of portraits here. So that's interesting.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Now we got it.
You seeing something? Okay, good. So you're seeing my archive portfolios.
Yes.
I had a logic for this presentation, but I think we'll ad-lib it this way because I think that time will be running out on us. So what you're seeing here is my galleries of archive work, because I'm doing different things these days, but it started in black and white. I was mentioning the anti-nuclear world that I covered. So again, and that's the picture I think you used on the promotion material. That's in Seabrook, New Hampshire. There was a relation between there was an inspiration from well, we are witnessing here the Bread and Puppet Theater out of Vermont, and that is a direct connotation of what I was in for. Arts and politics merged to proselytize on something that otherwise would seem mysterious. So with form and content, and I was quite enamored of what I was seeing, the movements. So again, I started with not much. by probing reality. I gathered some iconographic materials which served the movement and was used throughout the press. So, you know, the press was limited. It was limited to the movement at first, all publications congenial to that. But very soon I brought it up to about 200 publications, which trusted me with those documents. So that's at TMI. So these are comments, really. Again, I am not a conflict photographer, but I thrive on trying to explain before it is a conflict, and you know, we told you so after the conflict. So that brought me, and let me try to accelerate things here. It brought me to New York, for instance.
There's no need to accelerate.
Okay, all right. So that was Grace Paley, another artist of her own right, a writer, poet, a wonderful woman who with her daughter here, French word is harangué, which is stop this Wall Street trader in his track. You notice on his tie the various money denominations from Europe. There's a pound, a florin, and a franc, and so forth. The absurdity of, you know, of what we saw as the New York arrogancy to determine, you know, public policy for the most of us in terms of energy sources. So women took over the streets. I documented that. These are also famous figures of the time, union leaders, people who otherwise did not make it to the media and were not properly listened to, which could have avoided. Oh, well, in this case of this guy, well, this is where, as a photojournalist, I do respect people and I do give them a chance. But when it came to the KKK, and that's the Grand Wizard, Wilkinson, someone, he came out of Yule truck, you know. Well, so my art form there, if we must talk about it, was to wait for hours had to droop because it was raining, but it did not droop. So that's all I could do about him. It is rigged. The hat is rigged. So don't stand in the rain if you ever meet the character. It won't happen. But that's one of the days where, as a journalist and as a photographer, I outdid myself to no luck. So anyway, this has been a privilege to document such a movement with the only country in the world that stopped nuclear power in its production, in its, you know, the building of new nuclear power plants. And I hope it stays that way. I think, you know, that movement made a lot of, brought the points in which we should be using with the new administration. But that's my political work. It never stops. What else to show you here? Let me see what I brought in. So today I am in the position of quitting commercial work. I mean, there's two reasons for this. Is they are no longer the magazines that were, you know, using my work in the past. I mean, I worked for 300 publications. I counted. I stopped a long time ago, and most of them are gone. Yes, of course, New York Times travel section is still around, but it is much smaller and doesn't deal with problems that I wish to bring out. I had to find a way for, you know, for my self-esteem as a human being to illustrate life around and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of words. My pictures hopefully say more. So these are my recent pictures on Instagram, for instance. People want me to do color photographs, and I do that at times. I have a tendency to put them on Facebook, but really I want to not stylize, but bring the point to how I feel these days. And there's sorrow, and there's hope, and hopefully there's humor, and sometimes there's color. But these are taken around Stockbridge, Massachusetts right now. This is, of course, the cemetery. This is the largest cemetery of my backyard right now, but it is alive to me. I enjoy going back to the simplicity of communication this way.
Lionel, I've got to say, I like the diversity from those great shots of people that you're really capturing, these groups and pre-protests and political statements. And yet then these nature shots, which are more how I know you from Instagram. There's a great diversity. You must find that yourself somewhat enjoyable to be able to express two different ranges like that.
Yes. I look, photography has been great to me in a sense that, to explore the world, for helping me to explore the world and give back I mean, I've seen the result of my publications. I've seen the effects. Not enough in many cases, but I have a feedback that is positive and help me go through the difficulties of getting such work out. So and now I'm really back home with what I call these different folios. I do colors, by the way. So, for instance, I'm not sure I'm commending my I don't know what's happening here. Let me go back, maybe.
Command minus.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, what am I telling you here? Yeah, I've done, so you see black and white, you see color. What I think of black and white is I think it's the most powerful media to cut through. And that's where in these crazy times, I still find solace and a ways to reach, and a better way to reach out. But in the past, I've documented, for instance, here, the plea of American farmers in the West. And this is in color, but I'm back to black and white for some reason. Love color, but sometimes it's not necessary. In these pictures, it's not necessary, for instance. But of course, I've been, trying to sell the materials at time, and people don't want black and white. I remember going to National Geographic, and I said, let's try it again. And they said, no. And basically was kicked out of the play.
I think you're successful both. The black and white, Omar Noble says, love the black and whites and the docs, but especially the black and white and saturations. But your color work is also very successful too. I think there's just something about black and white that speaks to things being serious. And somehow you can get more poignancy. Color can sometimes be lightful and playful and take away from serious matters. Obviously, that's a very generic statement. But I do see you have both a Zen hand here, and at times you have a very different hand.
It's black and white is powerful, is very powerful. When I worked for Mother Jones, I did a series on unsung heroes, heroines throughout the United States. It was thrilling, and I don't really see it in color. The power of expressions is more what black and white can offer. So what am I doing here? Oh, God, did I jump into something? Well, yeah, this was an exercise in color around the environment, the personal environment of mine around here in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, the land of Rockwell. So that was early. That was very early. That was 5-6 years ago. So I left this for well, what is current, for instance. So we back to these. Let's see. For instance, here, I'm trying to find the essence of things. I am in Massachusetts. I'm in the middle of the land here, and I don't know if you see this well. I have a composite screen in front of me, but
we do.
All right. So these are, twigs and whatever in my backyard, for instance. But that's it's a solace. Why do I need color? Color will come back. People have been bothering me recently on the internet saying, we love color, and we love your colors. So I did. I put some on Facebook, but I used the black and white on Instagram, for instance. So it keeps on going, and
I'd like to point out Leah Poller says your framing is excruciatingly accurate. No room for anything except exactly what you bind in your borders. Very conscious work, very nicely done.
I'm definitely very precise. I never crop my photographs, never crop them. As you know, I crop them in the camera, of course, but there's no post-operation, no post-surgery on the photographs. And I've regretted it when I've done it. So we're talking about 1 in 10,000. So this is just a trip I took to Indochina in Vietnam 2 or 3 years ago. So it's the simplicity of beauty that attracted me and so forth. Current work I see here. What is the? I don't even know my site anymore. Well, let's see. That's New York City. So maybe I should show you that. Well, it's not New York here, but these are textures. I'm playing a lot with that these days. That's New York City, all right. That's train station around here. New York City, if you want to know. But I find solace in abstract, and lots of arrows. I've been photographing a lot of arrows. That's here. That's my home in the winter. And that's Washington Square Park, of course, right?
Lionel, I'm going to thank you. We're going to cut it a little short because we have gone a little long. That was a brilliant presentation.
You're welcome.
Lionel, I have to say you're now my newest favorite photographer. Fabulous work. And just say something about the Pete Seeger picture.
Oh, the Pete Seeger. Oh, yeah, he loved it. He loved it. I mean, I was quite pleased that he said that he loved it. Yeah, it was, I've documented the anti-nuclear movement. So since 75, 76. And he was one of the troopers, the early troopers. And that picture, so we had this relationship, but that picture was taken in New York on Storm King, and to me, he incarnates, the reason to be an American, to be proud to be an American, and I did sign up for citizenship after, I met people like that. So to me, he is definitely a hero. And he has this sense that, that picture expresses everything beautiful about America through this man. There are many other folks around that are beautiful, but he really embodied for me the spirit of beauty. So very much that picture is it's very important to me.
Thank you, Lionel. I want to thank everybody, all the photographers, and Jay, the performance artist that presented tonight. You all did a beautiful job. Again, I think we saw the camera is a tool. It's a paintbrush. You all painted in different ways how you use your tool. Many of you use it in a variety of ways, but I think we got a great follow-up to our last talk on photography. And we really see the depth and range that you can get from a camera. It is so great, not only Lionel, just within your own body of work, that wide range from the minimal twigs to the sort of maximal street shots that you get and other things. So I want to thank you all. And of course, thank all the artists who hung around, all of you here, for always coming, listening, sharing your thoughts. We're Artist Talk on Art. I do want to give a shout out to Michael Krasowitz. Michael has an event that goes on every Wednesday, I think at 7 o'clock. You can check him out on Facebook if you like, or ask me for his email. Michael does a very nice talk weekly as well. Again, we're Artist Talk on Art. We have something exciting coming next Monday. It'll be just one dancer talking about a film that he did. It'll be a very different presentation. If anybody would like to ever present, just reach out ahead, because we have grown our audience and we get people sort of booking up ahead when they'd like to present. So thank you all for coming. You make it Artist Talk on Art. This was another great night. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Barry. Take care of yourself, Barry.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Barry.
Take care, Barry.
Thank you, Francine.
Well.
Wish you a full healing.
Thank you, Regina.